Hi, and welcome back to another Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm Katie Johnson. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Stoughton, Wisconsin. Actually, it's Monday for you. You're watching this on Monday, May 3rd. I'm actually filming this on May 2nd because tomorrow, well, today for you, my daughter is going to be down with my grandchildren, and it turns out that 1 o'clock is nap time, and the children will be napping right on the other side of that wall. So Grandma's voice going live for you at 1 o'clock could be a little bit of a problem for nap time. And if you have grandchildren, you know that nap time is like sacred time. So today I have a project for you that is very similar to last week's project in terms of using a punch and altering the shape of the punch. I also have some new product to show you. So just a quick reminder on these catalogs. The one on the left, actually it didn't retire the end of April. It's going to go all the way through the 3rd. This catalog, if you have it, goes all the way through the end of June, but then we've got a brand new catalog that's going to go live on May 4th. So I'm going to be using some product from that one. And if you don't have this new catalog yet, let me know, and we'll figure out a way to get you a copy of it. Also on May 4th, be watching this website because I will be able to post the link to that new catalog. All right, let's turn the camera down and take a look at the new product that we're going to use. So this is a stamp set that I'm going to be using today. And let me tell you some of the things that I really like about it. It's called Hand-Penned Petals. First of all, it's a 2-step stamp set. So in other words, this is going to stamp a base image, and then this would stamp some color over the top of it. You've got these open flower shapes here, and then you've got some flowers that would fill in those spots. The same shape that you see right up here is the same shape you see here. So this fill flower would fit both of those down, both of these two larger images, and then this is a fill for that down here. You've got a couple of leaves, one small leaf that can fill, oh, and one large leaf. And then all of the leaves in the image are either going to be a large leaf or a small leaf. I love the font. I love anything that's got that block letter and then some scripty stuff, and this is a really pretty script. The sentiments in here are congratulations, anything is possible, which means that would be pretty good for graduation, thanks, and feel better, friend. All right, it does come with a matching die set. I would love to show you my die set, but I kind of messed up here. So I just added my face so that you can see me be real sheepish. If you've watched any of my other videos, I have one die set. It's an alphabet die set where the piece of paper that the dies are on is just so full that if you took off 2 or 3 or 4 of them to spell a word, you would be scratching your head trying to figure out where they go back. And I don't know what Stampin' Up! Did, but somehow they made an impression of each of those letters in that alphabet die set so you knew where they went. Okay, so somebody told me that if you ran your cardboard with the dies on it through the machine before you took them off, that it would do the same thing. It would leave an impression on the card. Don't do it. I tried it, and it was a mistake, and I'll show you why it was a mistake, because now I've got the paper, and I needed a piece of paper over it for a shim. Maybe if I didn't use the piece of paper for a shim, that would make a difference. But it's got all this tacky tape on here, and it's stuck to the paper, and it made just a mess. Did it work? No, not really. I mean, it leaves a tiny little bit of an impression, but I got to put my glasses on to even be able to see it. So not worth the effort. And I won't be doing that again on future ones. So if you hear anybody tell you that that's a good idea, Katie says it's not. Okay, so let's take a look at what we are going to do for today's project. We are going to take, oh, wait, I'll show you the rest of this set here. So this is so pretty. I love this set. I've made a ton of samples with it already. You'll be seeing them posted soon. So here's my little sheet from my sample book that shows the sentiments, but I also stamped the line image, and then here's the fill images. So I went back and stamped them as fill images. They're not intended to be like perfect fill in the blanks like if you were coloring with markers. They're just intended to be kind of, you know, that sloppy watercolory kind of look. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. So here is the stamp set. here is the die set. And when you see me punching or die cutting 3 of these, it's because you get 3 of them in the set, and you get 2 of these. So these little ones down here, they are just the right size to sit on top of these positions on that die. This one would fill in or sit on top of that one. These 2 would sit on top of that one right there. And then you could use, I suppose you could use these same things on the big one. But look at this. I don't know, can you see it? Whoops, let me get that on. See how it leaves? These are little raised up things. So it actually puts some embossing into this one down here. I haven't had a chance to play with that one yet. So, okay, I got to not move it so close. I can't go in focus. So anyway, this is just really cool. It cuts a 6-inch long strip that you could use for trim. And I've actually used some of them, you know, kind of trimming it off and using a 4-inch section or a 5-inch section. But 6 inches is long enough that you could go across the edge of a whole card. So, or an envelope. So lots and lots of opportunities to do some really cool stuff with this one. And while I have it out, I'm just going to say, I don't know if anybody else looks at that thing. I see little faces. So I'm thinking Halloween, or I'm thinking little snowball people. I don't know. I just see little faces in there, and I could see my grandkids looking at that and getting all kinds of ideas for, I don't know, little monsters. I have a 5-year-old grandson, so we make monsters sometimes. All right, let's pull this punch out. So this is the punch that we used last week, and this is the shape that it cuts. Now last week I showed you how to make it smaller, and what we said to do was to take your piece, and I'm just doing this in case people weren't watching last week and you're hearing me talk about making it smaller and wondering how, but today we're actually going to make it bigger. So I cut the edge of that thing, and then I'm pulling in a Post-it note, which everybody needs Post-it notes in their craft room, because that's going to be a handle. And now I can bring it back in and just, oh, actually, not from the end. My Post-it note isn't long enough. I'll do it this way. So now I can move it back in to that slot and get it positioned right. I guess I need it down on the end of the Post-it note. So now I have something quite a bit smaller. And I'm going to put these on black so that you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so you can take this punch and you can make it smaller. Today, we're going to make it bigger. And here's how I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to slip it in. So I need to cut the width here, a width that fits inside the length of the punch. And then I can just slip it into the slot and do the end. Now when I do this, I'm tilting it towards myself visually, but now I'll tip it back to the camera. So what I want to do is to make sure that this line that goes along the edge of the punch, that's parallel with the line on the piece of paper. All right, so now I've got one end, but I don't want it to be this short. I want it to be a longer piece this time. So we'll just stick that other end in. And then I'm doing the same thing. I'm tipping it visually for myself, and I'll tip it for the camera. So now, again, I'm just making sure the edge of the paper and the edge of the punch are parallel with each other. And so now I've got the same punch. This is how it does when you just stick a piece of paper in. You can make it shorter. You can make it longer to suit your card. So this is going to be on the front of my card this time. And actually, it's a little longer than what I need. So I'm going to go back in and trim this a little bit because I didn't need it quite so long. There we go. All right, let's clean up a little bit. By the way, if you're wondering my grandchildren, I have a 3-year-old grandson and a baby who, she's almost a year. She's about 10 months right now. So she's crawling all over the place and pulling herself up to stand up on things. And so it's just lots of fun to have them here this weekend. All right, my card is actually going to be a black card today. And I've got 2 white pieces here. One of them is going to be the front of the card, and I'm actually going to stamp the inside of the card today. I brought out a large block because I'm going to use this big piece. And when I have a big stamp like this, a lot of times I will ink it from bringing my ink pad down to the block as opposed to bringing the block down to the ink pad, because I've got a visual on it, and that way I can see if I've got good coverage. You know, it's too big to fit all the way on, and so sometimes looking through it, you don't see if you've got ink covering everything, but when you're seeing the surface of the stamp itself, then you do know that you've got good coverage. All right, this is going to be the inside of my card, so I'm just going to stamp this off on the corner. That will leave me room to write whatever I want to write when I send it. Isn't that a pretty inside for the card? I'm actually not even going to color it, although you could bring markers back in or one of those fill stamps and add a little bit of color to it, but I'm not going to do that this time. Okay, so there is the inside of my card done. For the outside, this is going to be thank you. I just love the script on this. If I had neat handwriting, this is how I would be writing my word thank you. Oh, I didn't bring a small block in here with me. I guess we'll use the same one. Whoops, let's get this one off so I get a good visual. Otherwise, I'm going to be crooked on here, right? There we go. All right, so I want banners to be sticking out the end, and I have a punch for that. I don't know how familiar, let me get my face out of the corner here. So I don't know how familiar you are with the Stampin' Up! Punches, but this is a triple punch. So when you look on the end, you're going to see 3 different depths down here. That means that you could use 3 different widths of paper with it. I've cut the widest width, which is 1 inch, but if I cut it down to 3/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch, it would just sink deeper into the tracks down there. So you can actually make 6 different ends with this thing because it's got 2 ends and 3 different depths, so you've got quite a bit of variety here. Now, even so, even though it's all tracking in there, here's the physics teacher talking about fulcrums, I still, with this kind of a punch, I look from the bottom to make sure that my paper is level in there. And I don't know if this is going to pop into focus for you or not. It might not. Come on, can you go? Oh, there. That helped a little bit. Okay, so I look at and it's dark paper on a shadowy dark area, so you probably can't see. But I do look to make sure that I have the same amount of space showing on both sides here, just so that my banner is going to be even. Now you'll notice I cut pieces of paper that were really too small just because I'm going to put 1 on each end. If you've got really short pieces of paper, this is a good way to use up those shorter pieces of paper. Oh, I think I did that one crooked. I did. Look at that. Isn't that awful? So it's longer on this side than that. So that's all right. This is just a little scrap sheet of paper, and I need to turn it for me to see, not the camera to see. There, that's a lot better. All right. So we'll just snip these. There we go. And this is why I really like working on the grid paper, because now I can lay these things, I can pick a line and lay these things right on the line. And then I know that they are going to be level when I put my piece of paper on. And then that way I can also use the vertical lines to help make sure that I've got about the same amount showing off of each side. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to come back and use this because then, oops, that was stored upside down and it was ready to go there. Lots of glue. But by using the liquid glue, I can come back and straighten them a little bit and scooch it a little bit if this one needs to come out just a little bit more. I've got that time before it really sets up to play with it and make sure that these are all level. So I made sure that the edge of my punch was level with the lines. The edge of the black pieces were level with the lines. Made sure I had about the same amount showing from the outside. And then I need to make sure that it's not too long, that it fits on my card. Okay. I think I'm going to scoot that in just a hair. All right, this is going to be a very plain card this time, so I'm going to put this on the front. All right, so now I'm going to talk to you about one more new product, because what I'm going to do for the front of this is just going to be a very plain card. Let me pull the die samples back out. This one that's the dark coral on top, that's what my embellishment is going to be, my focal point on the front of this card. And when I die cut this out, it's got some very narrow, small area surfaces. Like, can you imagine with that glue, that liquid glue, trying to come in and cover all those surfaces in here? That would be a big challenge. We'll just call that a challenge. So I'm going to show you another product that's in the catalog. And as you look at the adhesives that you use, double runner tape, liquid glue, dimensionals to hold things on, the glue dots, I'm going to suggest one more to you that may or may not be part of your stash, and that's these adhesive sheets down here. They come 12 to a pack. What is this? I think it's 6 inches by 12 inches long, and I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of scored at 2 places lengthwise. And so what I have done is I've already cut a piece to about as long as I need it. And there's just double sticky glue between the 2 different release paper surfaces, the saver papers, whatever they are. So I'm going to peel this off and then bring in my black paper. And this will be before I would run it through the machine. It's very sticky. My fingers are going to have sticky all over them. Now, the piece of paper, because I went just right along the edge of the score lines that are on here, they're at 2 inches wide, and I needed a piece. I'm going to die cut a piece that's a little wider than 2 inches, but that's okay. This is going to work just fine for holding down the majority of this die cut piece that I'm going to end up with for the front of the card. So then I would just come back, and the adhesive is here, so it's going to end up being like a sticker. So I would lay my die on top of it and run it through the machine. You can see that I've already done that so that you don't have to watch things jiggle while it goes through. So here's the back side, and here it was the way that it came out of the machine. I think you can kind of tell. I mean, it takes a minute for this camera to pop into focus. There we go. So you can see that right along the edge here, it wasn't, the tape wasn't quite wide enough, but that'll hold things just fine on my surface. The biggest challenge that you have with this, well worth whatever effort it takes to punch it out, is just to get all the little pieces out, because that adhesive tends to hold them in a little bit. And yeah, I could use a die brush here, but I don't know. I didn't bring one in this room. A die brush would probably have been the smart thing to do. And lots of times when I'm doing this, I prefer to get it out of the die and do it just on a piece of paper. So there's my die. And let's get rid of all the rest of these little pieces now. So this is going to be the basics of the card. It's going to be very, very clean and simple. Having this little bit here where the adhesive wasn't attached actually makes it easier to pull up that release paper. Isn't that cool? So now I've got the sticker. This is just awesome. So cool. Look how super easy that went on. I didn't have to mess with any glue. I didn't have to try to get my double sticky tape touching all those tiny little surfaces. That is really, really cool. All right, let's come back and put this on the card and add a little bit of bling. And then I'll tell you about something else that you can do to fancy that up even a little bit more. All right, I'm just going to add 2 rhinestones on here to finish this one off. I don't know if you have rhinestones, but gosh, this is another thing that, like the Post-it notes, everybody ought to have in their workroom. So everybody needs rhinestones, and then you've got all your various different adhesives, but I would suggest if you are putting together an order at all from that new catalog, you might want to think about getting some adhesive sheets because gosh, they are certainly useful for a lot of things, not just, but especially for when you've got detailed dies like this. Okay, this is a beautiful, plain and simple card. Easy to put together once you've got those adhesive sheets. There are some things that you can do if you want to even take this several steps further. You could put this, get little pieces of colored paper and put colored paper behind it to add a little bit of color. You could try and come in with markers if you wanted and color it. You could stamp it and lay that die cut on top of the stamp. That could look really pretty. And then the other thing that you could do is you could do an inlay. Not doing an inlay technique today. I have one inlay video with a different die like this, and maybe I'll see if I can get some time, make an inlay with that. But this is where the other end of your take your pick tool comes in, because I think you saw me use that to move the rhinestones and to punch out all the little things. But this tacky end down here would pick up the little pieces. You know, I can't see it on there because it's got the white here. You can see it this way. So it would pick up all these little pieces. So you could pick them up and then bring them over and use that to position them to put it into the various different holes. So if you've got any bigger punches like this, don't reject using them if it turns out that the size that they punch is the wrong size for your project, because you can always follow either of these two tricks to make your punched shape smaller or to make your punched shape bigger. And then do be watching back to see a lot more projects that I've made. I have a whole stash of cards that I've made with this one. And I have an event coming up that will be a catalog kickoff, and you'll see lots more samples made with this awesome hand-penned petals stamp set and the dies that go with it. So thanks for tuning in today. I'll put a link in the description to that catalog kickoff event. There's going to be lots of videos like this one that will be about a project. There will be other videos that will just show the product like I did at the beginning of today, where I showed you the stamp set and then the dies and how they, the shapes that they cut. And then there's also going to be a purchasing incentive. That stack of videos, or where's my finger? There we go. That stack of stamp sets that you see behind me, as well as a ton more that are in my closet, because I've been a demonstrator for about 15 years now, and I have a closet full of retired things. And so a qualifying purchase will earn you a free choice. There'll be a link to register. And once you register, then you'll have access to the gallery to see the retired product that you can choose when you make a qualifying purchase. So thanks for watching, and I hope that we see you next Monday, and then I hope we see you on the 13th for the catalog kickoff. Bye now.